Discover the incredible life-changing moment when a little girl whispered, "Will you be my mommy?" Every morning, as the sun peeked through the worn blinds of their small apartment, Mary could hear the familiar clinking of plates and the hum of laughter drifting from the diner where she worked. The comforting sounds wrapped around her like a warm embrace, reminding her of the life she was building for her spirited 6-year-old daughter, Ellie. Together, they thrived on simple pleasures, homemade pancakes on lazy weekends, evenings spent chasing fireflies in the park, and dreams whispered softly in the twilight, but every joyful moment was tangled with worry. Mary stretched her meager paycheck to cover ballet lessons and new shoes while the weight of bills loomed heavy on her heart. The creases of exhaustion marred her youthful face, but she pushed through, determined to create a better future for Ellie. Yet, with each sparkling gasp of happiness from Ellie, an undercurrent of anxiety swelled in Mary's chest. Every day, her daughter seemed to balance on the edge of wanting more, a feeling that intensified when Ellie's friendship with Amanda, the new girl in town, began to blossom. Amanda's world was a parade of luxuries that Mary could only dream of providing. She noticed how Ellie's eyes sparkled with fascination whenever Amanda recounted tales of grand houses and vacations. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. One night, as they snuggled on the couch, Ellie turned her wide, hopeful gaze toward her mother and asked, "Will you be my mommy?" The question hung in the air like a fragile glass ornament, delicate and unsteady. Mary's heart twisted as the words cut deep, echoing insecurities she thought she had buried long ago. It was a simple phrase, yet it sent jolts of emotion surging through her. In that dimly lit room filled with love but also wearied by worry, Mary could sense their life unevenly poised between aspiration and reality. How could she nurture Ellie's dreams without letting her understand the constraints of their life? She wanted to show her that happiness didn't come from a fancy house or extravagant things, yet, there was a gnawing fear in realizing that Ellie's yearning felt like a door opening to a world Mary feared she couldn't enter. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. One day, the school sent home a project on family roles. Ellie came home beaming, excited to share it with her mother. Yet, as Mary listened, she saw the flickers of something deeper, a yearning she couldn't quite decipher. The conversation shifted between glue sticks and crafts, but tension simmered just beneath, like it was quietly begging for resolution. The whispers of judgment from the community felt louder now, battering against Mary's thoughts like thunder. As Mary searched for ways to reassure her daughter that the life they shared was its own kind of magic, the fear loomed larger. Am I enough? She wondered. Was her love sufficient to rise against the backdrop of the world that felt so unforgiving? The path ahead was murky, and as she glanced down at Ellie, her mind a tornado of worry and hope, she wondered, could her love and resilience be enough to lift them from their struggles, or would these shadows of the past cast a long shadow over their future? The warmth of the morning sun poured in as Mary made her way into the diner, the scent of coffee and sizzling bacon wrapping around her like a much-needed blanket. However, even as she took the order of a familiar customer, her mind drifted back to Ellie. The vibrant image of her daughter's bright smile felt distant, like a cherished photograph fading at the edges. The chatter of patrons became a muffled backdrop against her swirling thoughts. That afternoon, during a rare moment of quiet, Mary sat at the small kitchen table, flipping through Ellie's project on family roles. The drawings of mommy and daddy figures, residences that looked like they belonged in storybooks, struck a chord within her. Each crayon stroke seemed to echo, reminding her of the life she wasn't able to provide. The weight of her insecurities pressed down on her chest like a boulder. "Mommy!" Ellie called, bursting into the room with the kind of energy that felt electric. "Look at my project. I want to tell you all about it." Mary smiled, though it didn't quite reach her eyes. "That's wonderful, Ellie. I can't wait to see." Ellie plopped down beside her, giggling, her little fingers flipping through the pages with haste. Each drawing featured a perfect family, complete with a two-story house and a yard. Mary's heart ached, not because of the pictures, but for the reality of it all. Would Ellie feel she was missing something? Would she ever question why they didn't have that perfect house? What do you think? Ellie asked, her voice bright with pride as she turned to a page where she imagined their family enjoying a picnic in the sunshine. It's beautiful, sweetheart, Mary said, her voice trembling slightly. You've captured such happiness in your drawings. Ellie grinned widely, a cascade of light pouring from her. Can we have a picnic like that soon? Just us. Mary's heart twisted again. She could feel the innocence in her daughter's request, but reality tugged at her, reminding her of the precious little time they needed to save. Of course, honey. When the weather warms up, she replied, hoping the promise would be enough to satisfy the ache beneath her daughter's eyes. As Ellie bounced away, already dreaming about the picnic, Mary found herself seated at the table, both grateful and sorrowful. She was determined to fulfill her daughter's wishes but found herself shackled by the weight of what she couldn't give. It felt like a delicate dance. Each step forward seemed to teeter into uncertainty. The following days proved to be a blur of work and endless anxiety. The diner was bustling, but Mary's thoughts were elsewhere. Each time she glanced at Ellie playing with Amanda at the park, a wave of longing washed over her. She could see the joyful laughter between the two girls, a stark reminder of the joy and connection Mary feared was becoming out of reach. As she washed dishes that night, the rattling plates echoed the uncertainty in her heart. The bright laughter from the park felt distant, haunting her with questions. Mommy. Ellie's voice cut through her thoughts like the sun cutting through clouds. Mary turned, only to find Ellie standing at the kitchen door. Can we stay up a little longer tonight? I want to talk about my project some more. Something in Ellie's eyes, the way they twinkled with hope, made Mary pause. Of course, darling. Let us talk. As they settled down together on the sofa, surrounded by messy crayons and papers scattered about, the weight of worries faded for just a moment. Yet, as Ellie's animated descriptions grew, Mary felt the tightrope of emotions creep back, and as daylight began to retreat, Mary reached out to hold Ellie close, wondering if she could continue to navigate this love-filled world without the foundation she once hoped to build for them. A thought lingered unspoken: was this the beginning of understanding, or merely the start of an even deeper longing? As the shadows gathered in the room, their laughter mixed with uncertainty, a reminder of the struggle that seemed to grow stronger, like storm clouds on the horizon. What was it that Ellie truly needed from her? Would she come to understand that it was love and not luxuries that shaped their beautiful bond? The day broke with a hush. The kind of quiet that felt heavy and pregnant with potential. Mary stood at the kitchen sink, watching the water swirl down the drain, lost in thought. The sunlight streamed through the window, casting a warm glow that filled the room with a bittersweet light. As she scrubbed the dishes, her mind wandered to Ellie. The girl who brought so much joy, yet so many questions. Mommy. Ellie's voice bounced through the house, a splash of color in an otherwise gray morning. Look what I found. Mary turned to see her daughter standing in the doorway, clutching a small, bumpy rock with the proudest smile. Somehow, that rock, with its imperfections, felt more precious than anything she could ever buy. Isn't it cool? Ellie exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with delight. Mary knelt down to Ellie's level, her heart swelling. It's beautiful, Ellie. You have such a good eye for spotting treasure, she said, ruffling her hair. Can we paint it? Ellie asked, bouncing on the balls of her feet, her enthusiasm infectious. Of course. We'll make it a masterpiece, Mary replied, longing to give her daughter every experience she could. However, just as she said those words, a tightness gripped her chest. They didn't have the luxury of craft supplies or time to waste. Still, this moment fueled her determination. They gathered their supplies, an old shoebox filled with mismatched paint tubes, brushes, and a few sheets of scrap paper that had seen better days. Sitting on the floor, the two created a makeshift art studio in the middle of their cozy living room. Laughter echoed as Ellie smeared paint on the rock, her fingers getting delightfully messy. "Look, Mommy. It's a rainbow." Ellie held the rock up eagerly, colors blending together in a chaotic yet beautiful way. Mary couldn't help but chuckle at how carefree her daughter was, lost in the moment. Yet, in the back of her mind, doubt crept in. What if moments like this were all they had? Would Ellie grow up wishing for more than simple painting sessions and shared laughter? The thought hurt, tightening her throat. "Mommy," Ellie's voice interrupted her thoughts. "Do you think we can paint a picture of our house next?" Mary hesitated. "Our house isn't as pretty as the one in your drawings," she said softly, avoiding her daughter's gaze. "But it's our home. It has you and me," Ellie exclaimed, unswayed by practicality. Seeing Ellie's excitement, Mary's heart momentarily filled with hope. "You're right," she said, her voice steadier. "Let us paint it the happiest colors we can think of." As the day unfolded, they painted side by side, losing themselves in bursts of color and laughter. Each brushstroke chased away some of Mary's worries. For every vibrant color, a layer of uncertainty peeled away. But as evening fell, reality seeped back in. "Ellie," Mary said, her voice suddenly serious. "Do you ever wish for more?" Ellie paused, paintbrush hovering. "More?" she echoed, brow furrowing. "Like a bigger house or a family like in your drawings?" Mary managed to ask, every word a weight on her chest. Ellie looked thoughtful, her little eyebrows knitting together. "I don't need a big house. I just need you, Mommy." At that moment, the walls felt like they were closing in on Mary. Ellie's innocent response unfolded layers she had shielded herself from. "Ellie," she whispered, tears pricking at the corner of her eyes, "you're all I need too." Without realizing it, she too had been painting a picture of love, joy, and togetherness. But the shadows still lingered, deeper than paint could cover. She wondered, could Ellie always see love where she saw lack? Sudden courage flickered in Mary's heart. She leaned in, enveloping Ellie in her arms, realizing this moment could only deepen the bond they shared. But even as she held her, a question loomed: what sacrifices would bring them closer to the life Ellie dreamed of, and was she ready for what it might cost? As they sat together, the weight of unspoken worries hung in the air, a silent storm brewing on the horizon, one that could either deepen their love or bring chaos to their simple life. The next morning, a breeze danced through the open window, carrying with it the scent of fresh coffee that Mary brewed. The sun hung low, warming the edges of their kitchen, a stark shift from the tension of yesterday evening. Ellie, still in her pajama top speckled with paint, shuffled into the kitchen, her hair a charming mess of curls. "Good morning, Mommy," she chirped, her voice bubbling with energy. "Good morning, sweetheart," Mary replied, trying to shake off the residual weight that had settled in her chest. "Ready for breakfast? Can we have pancakes?" Ellie asked, eyes shining. Mary hesitated for just a beat. With a slight smile, she nodded. "Absolutely. Pancakes it is." As she flipped the batter on the hot griddle, the familiar sizzle lifted her spirits a little. Ellie began to set the table, chattering about the colors they'd use for their drawings later. Her innocent enthusiasm washed over Mary like sunshine. She watched Ellie shuffle around, her little feet pattering on the wooden floor, and felt a flicker of hope replacing the doubt. But alongside that flicker was a nagging thought: how could she provide Ellie with a life filled with all the dreams her daughter deserved? She poured syrup over the stacks of pancakes, trying to push away the whirlwind of worries swirling in her mind. After breakfast, they returned to their colorful canvases, the small rock sitting in pride of place in the center of their setup. Ellie's giggles mingled with the sounds of brushes swishing against paper. For a moment, Mary lost herself in the magic of the moment, a perfect blend of mother and daughter creating joy on a Saturday morning. "Look, Mommy, it's a rainbow house," Ellie squealed, showcasing her masterpiece that featured a multicolored home surrounded by flowers and a smiling sun. Mary admired the colorful strokes that told a tale of love and comfort. "It's beautiful, Ellie. Just like us." With urgency suddenly gripping her heart, she leaned closer. "Ellie, can I ask you something?" "Sure," Ellie said, her paintbrush going wild with excitement. "Do you ever think about having another family member? Like a brother or sister?" The words felt heavier than she had anticipated. Ellie paused, brows furrowed. I don't know. I like it just being us." She looked thoughtful. Mary's heartlight dimmed slightly, but she pushed onward. "What if you had someone to play with, share secrets? Would that be fun?" "Maybe," Ellie said, her voice trailing off. "But I already have you." Mary felt a lump form in her throat. "But would you ever want to help take care of someone? Like a little baby?" Ellie considered this with the seriousness only a child can muster. "It might be cool, but they might cry a lot." Mary laughed softly at her candid answer. "Yeah, they probably would. Then I could show them how to paint. And make them rainbows." Ellie brightened at the thought, eagerly diving back into her artwork like it was the best plan in the world. A bittersweet smile crossed Mary's lips. The warmth in Ellie's voice reminded her of the bond they already had, one that didn't need complicating. Yet, she couldn't ignore the underlying anxiety gnawing at her. Would Ellie still feel whole, still feel enough, when the world offered so little? Suddenly, the doorbell rang, jolting them both from their peaceful reverie. Who could that be? Mary wondered, glancing at Ellie, who was equally curious. As she opened the door, her breath caught. Standing there, with a warm smile that felt all too familiar, was Sarah, their neighbor and longtime friend, holding a basket of goodies. "Hey, I brought some treats over for you too," Sarah exclaimed. But in that moment, Mary sensed something was different. It hung in the air like the lingering aroma of pancakes, a hint of possibility. What did Sarah really want? Would she bring news that could change everything? The moment felt charged, and Mary's heart raced as she braced for what could be a turning point, a crucial moment that might just add a new hue to their lives. Mary stood frozen at the door, the sunlight framing Sarah in a halo that felt far too bright for the heavy emotions churning inside her. She had been so lost in her thoughts, battling her insecurities about their small, cozy world, that she hadn't truly considered what welcoming another person into their lives might entail. "Mary, are you okay?" Sarah's voice broke through her reverie, bringing a wisp of normalcy. "Oh. Yes, I'm fine," Mary replied, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Just caught off guard. You surprised us." Ellie appeared at Mary's side, her little face lit up with excitement. "Hi, Sarah. What do you have in the basket?" "A little bit of everything." Sarah beamed, setting the basket down on the table where the paint-streaked canvases lay waiting. "Brownies, cookies, and some of that fudge you like." Ellie's eyes widened. "Fudge?" She bounded forward, tempted by the sweetness, but Sarah's reverent tone made Mary hesitate. "Actually, I came over to talk to both of you about something important. But first, let us grab a treat, okay?" As the three of them sat down around the kitchen table, Mary could sense the weight of the conversation ahead. Sarah's focus shifted to Mary, her gaze serious but warm. "Mary, I wanted to tell you about something. A community center needs help with their after-school programs. They're looking for volunteers to mentor kids. I thought of you immediately." Mary's heart raced, not just from the unexpected offer, but also with the realization that it could disrupt the delicate balance she and Ellie had found. I don't know, Sarah. I'm not sure I have the time. But you love teaching. You see the kids light up, don't you? It could be good for you and Ellie too," Sarah urged gently. Ellie tilted her head, clearly intrigued. "What's a mentor?" "It's someone who helps others learn and grow," Mary explained, thinking of Ellie's vivid imagination. "Like a guide. Like a rainbow house guide?" Ellie said, smiling at her artwork from earlier in the day. Exactly. Mary's voice softened as she caught her daughter's spark. But the thought of public speaking or juggling more responsibilities made her stomach knot. Mary, this is more than just helping out. It's an opportunity, Sarah said, leaning in. You know how lonely it can be. I thought it might open new doors for both of you. New doors. The phrase hung in the air like a promise. As Sarah spoke, Mary couldn't help but feel the weight of every unspoken question slam into her. What would it mean for their family? Would they have room for another person in their world? Could they truly share their hearts? What if we make new friends? I could show them how to paint rainbows too. Ellie chirped with innocent excitement, unaware of the swirl of emotions enveloping her mother. Exactly, Ellie. Imagine all the rainbow houses we could create, Sarah added, her eyes sparkling. Mary smiled at her daughter but wrestled with a knot of uncertainty in her chest. But would it take me away from you, Ellie? Would you still be happy with just the two of us? The question was more serious than she intended, and she instantly regretted asking. Ellie's young face scrunched in concentration, the same way it did when she painted. Mommy, I like our life. But maybe more love is always good. Right? More love. The phrase ricocheted around the room, dancing with implications that sent a shiver down Mary's spine. As laughter echoed around the table, the door to possibility cracked wider, yet it stood there, the unmistakable fear of change looming close. Let us think about it together, okay? Sarah suggested softly, sensing the hesitance. Just then, a small voice piped up from the side. Will you ever be my mommy, Sarah? Ellie asked, her bright eyes betraying a mixture of simple curiosity and hope. Mary's heart caught as the weight of that question cascaded over all of them. Would Sarah's answer tip the scales towards chaos or clarity? Silence enveloped the kitchen, its weight heavy and palpable. Mary's heart raced, and suddenly, all the vibrant colors of their lives felt muted. Ellie's innocent question hung in the air, teasing out the possibility of something deeper, something that could shift their already fragile dynamics. Sarah blinked, caught off guard. Her smile faded for just a moment, uncertainty flickering across her face. Oh, Ellie, that's a really big question, she said gently. She glanced at Mary, perhaps searching for guidance or reassurance, but all Mary could do was hold her breath. I just thought, Ellie stammered, her small fingers drawing absent patterns on the table. You're so nice. You could be my mommy. Like my other friends have. The truth knocked the wind out of Mary. How could such a simple statement from such a small voice hold such power? She felt an ache forming in her chest, a blend of fear and a hint of longing. Maybe we could all just be friends, Sarah replied after a pause, her voice steady despite the tremor of raw emotion beneath. Her protective tone was sweet, but the response wrapped wounds both old and fresh. That would be wonderful. But Mary could see it, the flicker of realization in Ellie's eyes, a slight downturn of her lips. The idea of sharing mommy with someone else was a heavy ask from a little girl who only knew their cozy world. Ellie, sweetie, Mary finally managed, feeling her voice soften like the morning sun peeking through clouds. You are my everything. No one can replace that. You know that, right? Ellie nodded, but there was a hint of doubt in her big green eyes. Mary wanted to reach across the table and pull her into a comforting embrace, shield her from all the questions and uncertainties swirling around them. Sarah interjected softly, hoping to lighten the moment. What if we all did some activities together at the community center? You could show other kids how to paint rainbows just like you do. Wouldn't that be fun? Mary watched as Ellie chewed on her lower lip, pondering. Will you come too, Miss Sarah? Of course. Sarah smiled, her voice sparkling with enthusiasm. I'd love to join. Think of all the rainbows we can create. Mary couldn't help but smile at the image, but anxiety rushed back like an unwelcome tide. What if it didn't work the way they hoped? What if they stepped into a world full of chatter and laughter, but it took something precious from their close-knit life. "Ellie, honey," Mary began again, wanting to be clear about everything, "letting someone else into our lives doesn't mean you have to share my love. It just means we make space for more love." The words tasted bittersweet in her mouth, and she feared they might shatter the moment she was trying to build. Ellie's brow furrowed slightly as she absorbed each word, her innocence dancing with questions unspoken. "More love?" she echoed softly, curious yet cautious, as if weighing the idea of stretching their bond. "Exactly, sunshine," Sarah chimed in brightly, looking from Ellie to Mary, her voice steady with warmth. "There's always enough love to go around." Just as Mary opened her mouth to respond, the doorbell rang, startling all of them. The sudden sound felt ominous and bright, cutting through the thick tension that had settled like fog. "That must be the neighbor," Sarah exclaimed, standing up. "Do you want to see who it is, Ellie?" Mary hesitated, torn between wanting to follow Sarah and urging Ellie to stay by her side. The shift from uncertainty to excitement bubbled in a curious way. "Can I take a treat?" Ellie asked, her previous worries forgotten momentarily in the promise of brownies and cookies. "Of course, let us go together," Sarah said, and together they bounded toward the door, leaving Mary behind for a brief moment of contemplation. As Mary observed the two of them, uncertainty wrestled with fondness in her heart. Would she be comfortable letting go of the reins? Was she ready for whatever lay on the other side of that door, where possibilities and risks mingled together in unknown proportions? The door swung open, and Mary felt her breath catch at who stood there, eyes alight with purpose. But just who was this new arrival that could tilt the scales once again? The door fully opened, revealing a striking woman with a vibrant smile. Her hair glimmered in the light, cascading down her shoulders like a waterfall of warmth. "Hello," she exclaimed, her voice filling the space, bright and melodic. "I'm Lucy, your new neighbor. And I brought some homemade cookies to share." Mary's heart raced anew, not just from the suddenness of the encounter, but from the way Lucy seemed to bring an entirely new energy into the room. Ellie squealed, visibly excited, her earlier doubts forgotten in this moment of sugary delight. "Yay! Cookies!" Ellie exclaimed, bouncing on her toes, her little hands clutching a plate of brownies that she hadn't let go of. Sarah stepped aside, welcoming Lucy into their home. "What a nice surprise. We were just discussing some fun activities at the community center. You should join us." Lucy's eyes twinkled with interest as she stepped inside, taking in the cozy kitchen filled with artwork and laughter. "Absolutely. I love community gatherings. I'm all about fun activities, especially if they involve kids and cookies." Mary felt a wave of warmth wash over her, mingling with the edges of her lingering anxiety. Part of her wanted to retreat, to hold tight to Ellie and shield her from the possibility of new connections. But another part, one that was slowly awakening, sensed an opportunity and invitation to embrace this new chapter of life. "Ellie, why don't you show Lucy your drawings?" Mary encouraged, her voice soft but insistent. "She'll love them." With a quick gobble of her brownie, Ellie was off, leading Lucy to the living room where her colorful creations decorated the walls. Mary smiled, watching the pair, but her heart thudded with uncertainty. Who was this Lucy? Could she truly fit into the rhythm of their lives without disrupting the delicate balance they had? "Your daughter is so talented," Lucy said, glancing back at Mary as she admired Ellie's artwork. "You must be so proud." Mary nodded, her chest swelling with pride but also vulnerability. "Ellie is my entire world." But sometimes she hesitated, searching for the right words. "It's just tough letting new people in. You understand?" Lucy turned, her expression earnest. "I do. But so many beautiful things can happen when you let others share in the joy. You can still protect what's precious." Mary caught a glimpse of understanding in Lucy's eyes. There was a sincerity about her and honesty that resonated. "Mommy," Ellie called, interrupting their conversation as she held up her latest drawing of a rainbow against a sunlit sky. Look. Do you like it? Mary's heart melted at the sight. I love it, sweetheart. It's so colorful. But as Ellie beamed, a nagging worry wrapped its tendrils around her mind. What if inviting Lucy into their world meant losing something magical? The kitchen buzzed with chatter and laughter, a sharp contrast to Mary's internal debate. But just as she began to feel a flicker of hope, a thought struck her. What if Lucy didn't just bring cookies but also a connection, an understanding that they all needed? As Lucy knelt beside Ellie, they began to talk about the colors, about love, families, and rainbows. Mary's heart tightened in her chest. She was caught between the urge to cling and the desperate yearning to let go. It felt like standing on the edge of a cliff, peering down at the unknown. As the three continued to engage, the laughter felt like a wall shattering. To build connections, sometimes you had to accept the possibility of loss. But could Mary find the strength to embrace it? Just then, as the laughter echoed around her, another knock came at the door. They all turned, confusion palpable. Who could it be this time? Mary's forehead creased with curiosity. The laughter from moments ago hung heavy in the air, suspended as they all turned towards the door once more. Ellie, who had been bubbling over with joy, now peered back and forth between her mom and the door, her eyes sparkling out of excitement and curiosity. Lucy remained there, her warm smile turning slightly quizzical as she stood next to Ellie, both of them sharing in the moment of suspense. Mary's heart fluttered, a strange mix of anticipation and trepidation settled in the pit of her stomach. Should I get it? Sarah asked, looking from Mary to the door and back again, sensing the energy shift. Before Mary spoke, another knock greeted them, firmer this time. It felt more like a prompt, urging the moment forward. With a deep breath, Mary nodded. Yes, please. Sarah moved toward the door, her confident stride at odds with the uncertainty swirling within Mary. There was something unsettling about unexpected visitors, especially tonight when vulnerability seemed to linger close. She probably has cookies too, Lucy teased, stirring a little laughter that eased the tension in the air. But the laughter faded as Sarah pulled the door to reveal a tall figure cloaked in shadow. Mary squinted, searching for a face she could recognize. The wind whispered through the doorway, bringing with it a chill that brushed against her skin. Then she saw her, a woman, early 30s, with hair pulled back in a simple ponytail and an anxious expression that made Mary's heart lurch. Excuse me, the woman said, her voice shaky, is this where Ellie lives? I'm looking for her. Mary exchanged a glance with Sarah, confusion mixing with concern as Ellie instinctively moved closer to Lucy, seeking her warmth. What do you mean? Mary asked, every word tinged with protectiveness. I'm Claudia, the woman stammered, her eyes darting nervously between Mary and Ellie. I know this is unusual, but I'm looking for my daughter. Ellie is my daughter. The room fell into a heavy silence, the air thick with disbelief. Mary's heart transformed into a wild drumbeat. It felt as if the ground beneath her was shifting. No, that's not possible, she managed, snapping out of her protective haze. Ellie was her world. This woman stood there, making a claim that felt surreal and terrifying. Mommy, who is she? Ellie's voice quivered with confusion, her innocent question shaking Mary to her core. Claudia, is it? Mary's voice was steady, though the chaos of emotions stirred tightly within her. Ellie is with me now. She's my daughter. You can't just I haven't been able to find her, Claudia cut in, her eyes wide with desperation. I don't know what happened. Please, you have to understand. I'm not here to take her away. I just want to know she's okay. Mary looked at Lucy, who stepped closer, offering her silent support. The warmth of their earlier laughter had vanished, replaced by a storm of confusion. Is this for real? Lucy whispered, disbelief shadowing her expression. Mary clenched her fists, emotions tangled like strands of a fraying rope. This is my girl. I don't care what you say. Ellie deserves to know who she is, Claudia implored, her voice trembling. Please, let me explain. The room buzzed with tension, each second stretching like an eternity. Ellie, unknowing of the depth of the turmoil surrounding her, looked up at her mom with trusting eyes. Mary's heart raced. She felt torn between protecting Ellie and what felt like an undeniable truth standing before her. "Mommy?" Ellie prompted again, her voice a fragile thread. The room was charged with uncertainty. What did it mean for their family? Could all they had shared be ripped apart so easily? As the weight of this moment settled heavily around them, Mary realized she needed to make a choice. The battle of instincts, protect or understand, played out like a haunting melody in her mind. Just then, Ellie spoke again, softer this time. "Will you be my mommy?" Every breath hung in the air, waiting with bated anticipation. What would Mary decide in the face of this overwhelming reality? Mary's heart constricted as Ellie's words lingered in the air. Just a simple question from her little girl, yet it felt like a thunderclap. The way she looked up at Mary, eyes wide and trusting, made it hard to breathe. It stirred something deep within her, a pride coupled with a gut-wrenching fear. Claudia shifted nervously, wrapping her arms around herself as if trying to shrink into her own unease. "Please, just give me a moment. I don't mean any harm, I just want to explain," she pleaded. Her voice was quivering, each word like a small stone thrown into turbulent waters. Mary glanced at Sarah and Lucy, their expressions a mix of sympathy and confusion. Time felt like it froze, the seconds stretching endlessly. Ellie's small body leaned into her, and Mary felt the weight of her love pull her downward, grounding her in this chaos. "Mommy, I want to know her," Ellie said, her voice small but insistent. The room seemed to shrink around Mary, those words echoing painfully in her heart. What if this woman really was Ellie's mother? Did Ellie deserve to know? "Ellie, sweetheart," Mary started, but the words fell flat. She felt as if she were grappling with a tidal wave, threatening to pull her under. "You're safe with me. You always will be." Claudia stepped forward, an ember of hope igniting in her eyes. "All I want is to know if she's alright. I didn't ask to be away from her. I love her more than anything, please understand, I have searched everywhere." Mary took a breath and tried to wrestle her emotions into something coherent. "But you don't have the right to just show up here and say things like that. She is my daughter. I've raised her." The air crackled with tension. Each heartbeat felt like a countdown. Lucy reached out, squeezing Mary's arm. "Maybe we should just hear her out, Mary," she said softly. There was a calmness in her tone that broke through Mary's wild thoughts. Swallowing her pride, Mary nodded slowly, the walls around her heart trembling. "Okay. But know this," she said firmly, turning her gaze back to Claudia. "I will not let anyone take my daughter from me. You understand?" Claudia's face softened, acceptance washing over her features. "I wouldn't hurt her. I promise." Ellie's innocent gaze darted between the two women, her small fingers tightly gripping Mary's shirt. Tears pricked the corners of Mary's eyes as realization hit her. The truth might be more complicated than she had ever anticipated. "Let us sit down," Lucy suggested, moving toward the living room. "We need to talk this out." They all followed her lead. The cushions felt oddly heavy as they took their seats. Mary shook off the heavy silence clinging to the room. She had wanted nothing more than to protect Ellie, but now she felt a flicker of something akin to understanding. "Why don't you start from the beginning?" Mary said, her voice steadier now as she crossed her arms, ready to listen. It was a small step, but it was something. Claudia took a deep breath, gathering her composure with visible effort. "It's hard to say. I was young and scared when I had Ellie." Things got complicated as Claudia spoke, a mix of emotions stirred within Mary, a sense of fear, anger, compassion. Each word was a thread weaving a bigger picture, but could she untangle the mess? What would this mean for Ellie? In that moment, Mary realized they were on the brink of something monumental, a hidden story waiting to unfold. The air shifted, thick with unspoken possibilities. "And what happens next?" whispered Ellie, her eyes darting between them. Mary held her breath, the weight of that question resonating like a solemn promise in the air. What path would they choose? Would understanding be the bridge that brought them all together, or would it fray the bond Mary had fought so hard to build? As Claudia leaned forward, ready to share, the tension swelled again. They were standing on the edge, teetering between acceptance and heartache. What dark truths would emerge from the shadows, and would they be strong enough to face them together? As the room held its breath, Claudia began recounting her past, a story laced with heartbreak, choices made and unmade, dreams shattered and rekindled. Mary listened, her heart caught between the pain of the unknown and the fierce love she had for Ellie. Each detail felt like a thread, connecting them in a way that was both terrifying and oddly comforting. Mary's gaze flickered to Ellie, who nestled closer, her innocence a stark contrast to the growing tension that filled the room. Mary took a deep breath, bracing herself as she thought of the little girl she had raised, trained to see beauty in every mundane moment. What I want more than anything is for her to know she is loved, Claudia said, her voice quavering with emotion. I never wanted to leave her. Circumstances, they took me away from being the mom she deserves. Tears brimmed in Mary's eyes. Everything Claudia said felt like a reflection of her own hidden fears. The thought of Ellie wanting to know her biological mother sent a wave of panic through her. But there was something more, a flicker of understanding that settled in her heart. Ellie is my world, Mary murmured, her voice soft, breaking the spell of the moment. I've done everything to give her a loving home, a life filled with joy. Claudia nodded, regret flitting across her features. I can see that. I've watched from afar, hoping one day I could just be a part of her life, perhaps in a different way. Ellie, sensing the heaviness, piped up. But Mommy, I love you. You're my everything. Mary's heart swelled at her daughter's innocent proclamation. Her little girl was still here, still her daughter, no matter the complexities unfurling around them. And you are my everything, Ellie, Mary replied, pulling her close. Always remember that. Claudia's eyes glistened. I don't want to take that away. I don't want to be a threat to your happiness. Then what do you want? Mary asked, a blend of strength and vulnerability in her voice. The air buzzed with tension and potential, a crossroads where all their desires collided. I want her to know there's more love in the world. I want her to understand the truth of her life and roots, but I don't want it to disrupt what you've built. The room felt heavy with every word spoken, an invisible thread weaving between them, not just pain, but a deep yearning for connection. Sarah and Lucy watched silently, each absorbing the gravity of the moment, acting as witnesses eager to embrace the unfolding path. Mary's heart raced as she turned from Claudia to the small girl in her arms. Ellie, love life can be colorful and messy, like the paintings we've made. Do you understand that even if we open our hearts to more love, it does not change the love I have for you? Eyes wide, Ellie nodded, her trust in her mother unwavering. I like rainbows, Mommy. They make everything better. Mary smiled gently, her heart aching with pride. Ellie had always seen things clearly, her perspective untouched by the burdens of adult life. Let us explore this together then. If greater connections bring more color, maybe that is what we need. Claudia's expression softened with gratitude, and the tension in the room seemed to melt away, replaced by a shared understanding. They were no longer separate, a complicated tapestry of life was being woven before them, a mix of past and present that could inspire the future. As the conversation continued and the snacks were barely touched, a newfound bond began to form, hesitant yet promising. With Ellie nestled between them, the air grew lighter, the weight of uncertainty transforming slowly into hope. Time passed, walls seemed to lift, and laughter replaced what was once filled with hesitation. As the late afternoon faded into evening, Mary realized something profound. Love was like a dance, and every step, whether forward or backward, held meaning if they embraced it together. Can we paint together tomorrow? Ellie asked, her eyes glinting with excitement. Maybe we can do a rainbow house with everyone. Lucy grinned, her spirit lifting. Absolutely. We can all work together. What a perfect idea, Claudia said, warming to the moment. I'll bring colored chalks and canvases. We can create something beautiful as a family. Mary felt a glow of warmth flow through her, blending with fear and the thrill of a new adventure. In the heart of uncertainty, the truth emerged. Life was not just about protecting what they held dear, but also about embracing the potential for more. They sat together framed by the soft glow of the setting sun, preparing for a journey that would intertwine them all, a tapestry not just of love shared, but love multiplied. And as Mary's gaze settled on Ellie, a gentle smile blossomed on her face. "Let us do it," she whispered to herself, ready at last for the future. As that moment hovered in the air, it was clear, sometimes the most beautiful transformations come from the most difficult truths. This new path was uncharted, but in it lay the potential for endless love, laughter, and a beautiful, vibrant family. Now, this is the moment you need to embrace and take action. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that stir the heart. Leave a like now if this powerful ending resonated with you, and help us feed the algorithm. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this transformative journey. Your voice matters. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible tale of love and hope. Don't wait not even one more second to support our community and stay connected with more inspiring stories. Your love fuels our journey.